Today we're going to talk a little bit about Google Drive. Chances are you've been using it all year long, but today I'm going to show you a couple other tricks and things that you can do to help you keep organized in Drive, because chances are it's probably a little messy after using it all year. So I'm going to start at the home and website and click on my Drive icon to take me into my Drive, log in, and this is what I get inside my Google Drive. Now, your Drive is divided up into two sections. You have a section for folders up here at the top, if you have any, and a section for all your files down here below. Now, first thing I want to show you is you can actually view this information two different ways. So this is what's called icon view, where it gives you a little preview of what everything looks like. But up here in my toolbar on the right, I actually have this list view button that I can click on, and that will view everything in a list format instead of simply putting it all in icon view. So that's helpful if you have a lot of icons or a lot of things that you're scrolling through to be able to get to them. You can click on the button again and go back and forth. Now you can also search your Drive, and you can search for anything that you need to in your Drive. I can simply click and type, or I can search for a specific type. I can say only show me docs or sheets or slides, presentations, and go on from there. Or if you need to get really specific, you can actually click and say show me anything that was owned by me, not owned by me, or things that were modified in a certain date or date range to make sure that it matches those things, to be able to find those if you need to. So if I was going to search for something that matched 6th, like 6th grade, I simply type it in and it shows me anything that matches that. Now, if you have a lot of files in your Drive, you may want to consider creating some folders to organize those files. And you can do that a couple different ways. In the upper left hand corner, you have a big new button. I can click on new, and there's an option in here for new folders. So I could create a new folder, and I could call it maybe science. I hit create, and it will create that folder. Here it is, called science. I can also right click on some empty space in anywhere in my Drive, and there's a new folder option in there too. Again, right clicking is clicking with two fingers. Now once I've created a folder, to add things to it, all I have to do is simply click on it and drag it on top of that folder and let go, and it will move these things into that folder. If I need to select multiple things, I can click on one and then hold down the command key in the keyboard to select multiple things, and click and drag to put those things into that same folder like so. Double click on the science folder, and now I see everything that I had drug in there all now shows up in here. Another way I can do that is if I right click on any file, I have an option in here that says move to. I can choose to move things anywhere into my Drive. So if I wanted to take this out of this folder, I could just say move to. It asks me where do I want to move it to. I could go back to my Drive and say move here, and that will take this out of this folder and it puts it back into my Drive right here. I can also move things into a folder the same way. Right click with two fingers, move to, and simply find the folder I want it to go to. So find my science folder, here it is, and I hit move, and it moves it back into my science folder. Now, another cool thing I can do with folders is I can color code them. So if I wanted to get really fancy with my organization, I could make certain subjects certain colors, or however I want to organize things. So all I have to do is right click on a folder, and there's an option here to change color. It gives me a whole bunch of colors to choose from. I can choose what color I want, and it will color code those folders for me like so. Another thing I can do to help make my use of Google even easier, or make the organization of Google even easier, is I can star things. So let's say you have certain documents that you use all the time, or maybe certain folders that you use all the time. If I were to right click on one of these, there's an option that says add a star. So if I add a star to my science folder, and then maybe I'll go down here, and here's another file I use a lot. I can right click on this one and I'll add a star to this too. What stars do is these are like your favorite files, the things that you use all the time. So instead of having to search through and find these files anytime you need them, they always show up over here on the left under what's called starred. So if I click on starred, it will show me any things that I've starred in this folder. So maybe I'm working on a project that's going to take a couple weeks or maybe even a month. I could star that so it would always show up under this starred section. It's still in my drive somewhere, it's just a matter of finding it, and starring is an easier way to do that. When I'm finished with it, or if I do not need it to be starred anymore, again, I can right click on it and just say remove star, right click, remove star, and then those things disappear from my starred folder. Let's talk for a minute about naming your files. Chances are you have quite a few things in your drive already, and depending on how good you are at giving them a name when you create them, chances are you may have some untitled documents or things that you have not given good descriptive names to. It's really important that when you create files that you give it a descriptive name that makes it easy to find. Call it what it is so that if you need to find it later, you have the ability to do that. So I have a document here that right now is called Untitled Document. If I know what this is, I could simply right click on that document and go to rename and give it a new name, just like that. Or if I don't know what it is, I can double click on the document, it'll open it up, and if I click in the upper left hand corner, I can go ahead and give this document a name. So this is a document where I was going to test out some feedback plugins. So I'll call it feedback plugin test, and simply click anywhere else and it has now been named. So if I click to go back, click one more time, go back to my drive, it'll now be updated and it'll be listed in here with the correct name. By default, everything in my drive is organized by the last date it was modified. So since I just made a change to this, it shows up at the top of my list. I can change that by clicking and choosing to put them in order by name. If I wanted just an alphabetical list, I could also say the last time I modified it, the last time I opened it. You can adjust those as well. You can also hit this arrow to reverse those. So these are my oldest files, with my newest files being all the way at the bottom, or if I click, it'll reverse that. Now another way I can get to folders is over here on the left where I see my drive. There's a little triangle next to it once you start making folders. If I expand that by clicking that triangle, that'll show me all the folders that I've made, and I can jump in and out of these folders just by single clicking without having to double click to go in and out. Click the little triangle again and it closes those up. Click on my drive and it takes me back home. Now your drive is organized in a few different tools or a few different sections over here on the side. Chances are you've had something shared with you at some point in time, and anytime somebody shares something to you, they will always show up here in your shared with me section. The only thing about your shared files is if people share files to you, they are in control of these files. So for example, if they choose to take these files away and to stop sharing them, then they disappear out of your shared files. All I have to do to make sure these files stay in my drive is simply right click it, and I can say add to my drive. If I do that, it still shows up in my main shared with me section, but now if I go back to my drive, this file has been shared or been copied back to my drive, and I have my own copy of it in case that person would ever stop sharing things with me. I can also organize my shared with me section by shared date. So I can choose the date that these things were shared, or I can organize these by name as well. I also have a section in my drive for recent items, so things that I've recently worked on will show up over here in the recent section. Anytime I take a photo from my computer and drag that photo into my drive, all those photos will show up in what's called Google Photos on the left. Alright, so any photo I've added all shows up over here. Here's the starred section we talked about before, and then finally a trash can. So if I had things in my drive that I no longer needed, maybe things that I messed up or played around with, I could simply find one. Let's take this one right here. This was just me playing around. I can click on it. Up here at the top, I have a few options. I can share it via link. I can invite other people to share this document with me. I can get a quick preview of that document, or I can trash it and throw it away. When I throw documents away, they go in my trash, and they will stay in my trash until I tell it to empty the trash and delete those documents out of there. Some of these documents I've had in here all year long. Now, storing things in your drive is not like storing things on your computer where you have a limited amount of space. Our district's account gives everyone an unlimited number of storage space. So if you want to leave your things in your trash, if you ever decide, you know what, I want to get this file back, I can simply click on it, and then there's a button here that says Restore from Trash, which will bring these things back from trash and put them back into my drive, in this case a photo. Now, since we get unlimited space, Google Drive is an excellent place to back up everything on your computer. So if you've been creating things in other programs that are not Google related, that's fine. You can take any of these things and store them in Google. And the big advantage there is, number one, all of your stuff is backed up. So if your computer should die, you will make sure that you're not going to lose any files. Number two, they can be accessed from any internet device, at home, school, mobile phone, tablets. All you have to do is log into your Google account, and you can access all of these apps the exact same way. So if I simply take any file that's on my computer that I want to be able to edit, I take all of it, or take one and just drag it right into my document. So if I drag it into my drive and let go, it's going to copy that file into my drive. Here it is. Now, depending on that type of document, chances are I will not be able to edit it or make changes to it. And so if I double click to open this document, it lets me open it and look at it. But if I wanted to be able to download it and actually work on it, if it's not a Google Doc or a Google editable document, I can simply hit download. It'll download this document back onto my computer, and then I can open it back up and do whatever I was doing with it before. If you want to take an entire folder and be able to upload an entire folder worth of stuff into your drive, you can do that too. The only limitation is you have to use the Google Chrome browser. It will not work with Safari or Firefox. So it works the same way. You simply take a simple folder full of files and drag that whole folder in here, and it will let you copy that entire folder worth of files into your drive. Another helpful tip, when you log into your drive, it should always say Pattonville Drive in the corner. That's how you know that you are in your school's Google account and not your personal Google account if you have one. Another thing I like to do is you have your own little avatar up here in the corner that will show you your own custom icon. If you don't change that, it's probably just one of your initials. But if I want to, I can click on that icon and I can go to change, and I can choose any photo that I want to be able to upload, or even take my own photo with my webcam and be able to take any photo that's in my drive and make that my profile or my avatar picture in here. Now, the only thing I'll tell you is you want to make sure that that is a school appropriate picture, because everyone that you share files with will be able to see that. Also, the use of this avatar is a good, easy way to make sure that you're always in the right account. So I like to make sure that I have multiple accounts, and I want to make sure that all of my accounts have separate pictures or different looking pictures, so I can simply glance and be able to tell which account I'm in based on what picture I'm in. And that's just a little bit about organizing your Google Drive.